everyone. Jeff Alstead, co-founder, chief product officer for Faction Networks. Excited to tell you about our company tonight, what Zoom did in the market for video conferencing, we're going to do in the market for VPNs, SDNs, and more in cybersecurity. And I'm here to tell you how and why. All right, so the problem is that we're screwed, okay? All of our internet is compromised, right? I mean, everything we have, our hardware, is being owned by adversaries. So it's not just the criminals and the hackers you got to worry about now. Now it's the nation-state actors and malicious terrorists and things like that beyond that. And boy, it's you haven't seen anything yet because AI is coming next, right? Now, here's the bigger problem. We, in all our infinite wisdom, have connected, right, all of these devices to the internet. So what you heard about the last decade was we got to protect our data. Everybody forgot about the operational technology that's connected, right? Everything, in manufacturing, factory, houses, homes, it's all been connected to the internet. Never should have been. That was a bad idea, right? And there's more. What about our routers? Right, 90% of our routers are manufactured in China, right? This is an adversarial state actor. Over there on the right, you'll see in the next headline, well, last week, the head of the cybersecurity agency and the FBI advised all Americans to stop using text messages because the People's Republic of China owns our telecom networks and they don't know how to get them out, right? And that's the world we're living in today, right? And so, okay, our routers are owned, our internet's owned, we are in a big problem. And the biggest problem is that the current solutions don't do anything about this, right? So VPNs and SDNs don't fix these problems. So VPNs, over a decade ago, everybody in the cybersecurity industry decided, well, you know what? VPNs are kind of architecturally, incurably vulnerable to catastrophic hacks. Oops. Like, we need to get beyond these, right? And so they came up with zero trust networking. Much better idea. Zero trust networking is much more secure. 3 problems. One is it's so complicated and expensive that nobody could use it other than big enterprises. Second is that it's, expensive. You got to have your own IT staff. And then third is that, well, it still has centralized, vulnerabilities. So you're actually still, when they say zero trust, no, they trust the cloud and they trust themselves, right? VPNs and SDNs also don't secure all these devices we're talking about. They don't protect you from hacks of your admin or bad insider attacks. They don't protect your data. They protect your data in transit, but all the rest of the time your data is lying around unencrypted and ready for hacks. So Faction Networks eliminate the vulnerabilities of VPNs. They eliminate the cost and complexity of SDNs, and they make true zero trust security accessible to individual users, teams, and organizations of any size. We call it zero trust for the rest of us. Right? So you create and control your keys. This is the fundamental principle of Faction, is that we need to go back to first principles. We can't trust the cloud. We can't trust ourselves. What we trust is you, the user. You create your own keys. You create your own network. You share those keys with other users and devices yourself, and that you can be sure of, right? Now, once you actually have a fundamentally secure network, we could do 2 other things. First is data. We're creating, encrypting, and distributing keys, so great. We can encrypt your data at all times with your own keys. So if you put in your email or your cloud drives, you could be sure that I distribute those keys privately. The only people who are going to read it are the people I intend to read it, right? The second piece is really, okay, what about all these other devices we've been talking about? So Faction Networks allows you to finally have a simple to understand deploy solution to protect all of those smart, dumb, and legacy devices. There's no configuration. You just set it up, you scan a QR code, you put your devices behind it, and the beauty of a Faction Network is that those devices are no longer on the internet. So a decade ago, again, I said you would have had T1 lines, right? That you wouldn't have put something like a medical device or manufacturing equipment that would have killed your business if it got ransomware. You would have put it behind a T1 line, a private fiber line, because connecting to the internet was dangerous, right? Well, it's more dangerous now. So a Faction virtual private circuit with a pod allows you the same effect. I can now have a private secure network that only I control and know about, put those devices behind it. There's no configuration needed. I set it up, and bing, all those devices connect the same way, but they're not on the internet. They're only accessible to me, and then I can decide who and what should connect to it, right? Okay, so that's the biggest thing of all, right? That it has to be easy to use. We say zero trust for the rest of us because our ambition was to make sure that my wife could use it. or even better, that our Stanford a Stanford law educated chairman who can't even use his iPhone. Like when Ben can use it, I know we've succeeded, right? So that's what we're aiming for. Is it has to be so easy to use that everybody can have zero trust security. So our team is full of experienced operators and innovators and a lot of gray hair. We've done this before successfully. We're led by Dave Rand, who's our CEO and CTO. He's really built successful products and technologies at every layer of the stack. So he started developing chips for National Semiconductor. He did motherboards for Novell, routers for Cisco. He was president at the birth of the internet. He helped define a lot of the standards. He co-founded and took public the last major tier 1 internet service provider, sold it, merged it with Metro Media Fiber for $1.7 billion. He built 3 other companies. He sold one to Trend Micro and stayed on at Trend Micro for a decade as CTO and technical fellow. And that started to drive him nuts, right? That he said, okay, I've done all that and I still can actually protect a network. So how do we make these things we call pods and portals? We actually don't make them, we make the software. We're working with third-party providers that are actually sourced outside of China so we can keep them secure and private. In 2025, the end of the year, we'll be actually manufacturing here in America, because that's what we need to do. We need to actually solve this problem of hardware security. You can't solve it if you just kick it down the road. Nobody else even wants to talk about it. One thing to keep in mind is that while we say pods and portals, remember that these can also be components that are embedded in existing hardware and devices, right? So routers and other hardware can have faction nodes and components embedded in them. We're also working on proprietary chip designs that will enable us to really zero trust secure any kind of faction network and software, ensure that there could be no tampering with it whatsoever. So we have a very direct path to revenues with government and military and enterprise. We're working with Orion Assured, which is a Air Force program that validates technologies for rapid adoption and technology to the Air Force and military as well. Working with AIS, they're a partner with us, they're investing, we're co-developing, we're distributing with them through our channels into the enterprise and government. And on the commercial side of the market, which will allow us to focus on that, we really crush the competition, right? We crush VPNs, personal VPNs on security, have better functionality. We crush SDNs and zero trust networking on functionality, but most importantly, cost. And we have an ability to really go out there and make the market different. It's a huge market. I'm running out of time, so I'll move forward. But basically, 1% of our TAM, our total addressable market, is about $150 million ARR company. That's what we're going for in the next 4 years. We've got a lot of paths to revenue directly in our path, and this is our path forward from here. We're now in an alpha with a beta platform. We're moving into cybersecurity labs. My time is up, and so by about May of next year, we'll be launching, May of 2025, and we've got everything we need to do that other than this, capital. So we're right now looking to raise about $500K. I'm ready to take questions, but yeah, we're raising $500K right now in convertible notes and about $3 million. We have an ongoing track of engagement with multiple VCs, and we're talking to both types of investors at the same time. Thank you.
You're up first. You had a question?
I was wondering if you could compare and contrast your services to people like Tailscale or Zero Tier.
Yeah, so Zero Tier, and Tailscale are two that are trying to get down into the lower part of the market. But I think anybody uses them would say that's still for an IT staff, right? That what we're trying to go for is really a tool that anybody can use. If you could use a phone and a normal kind of PC software, you can deploy a zero trust network, data security, device security, all yourself.
Thanks so much. So could you just tell me a little bit about this 12-month runway and how it fits into your production plan? I saw that you were manufacturing, was it in Utica?
Yeah, so we are launching, our initial launch will be early Q2, about May. We'll be doing that with routers we source from Lithuania, Texas, and Taiwan. Biggest problem with Taiwan is that every time I look, the Chinese Navy is doing their live fire drills, right? So we don't want to count on that. We've now got a manufacturing partner here in central New York, and we're working together with them to be able to have, made in USA 100% by the end of 2025. So that'll be for our faction pods and portals. But we think it's essential to bring the whole hardware chain right down to the chips. We're also working with Global Foundries so that by 2026, we can control the chips.